Hello, my name is David Kamai. I'm General Manager with Walsh Honda. If you've clicked on this video, then you might be wondering if leasing is right for you. The purpose of this video is to answer exactly that question. Is leasing with American Honda Finance right for you? So in a nutshell, the leasing programs with Honda Finance work in this way. It's as if I told you that you financed a car for, let's say, an X number of years, but at the halfway point, I gave you a guaranteed payoff. That guaranteed payoff is the key to Honda leasing. A lot of people think that leasing is pretty much like what they've heard in the past. You come into the dealership at the end of the term and you give them the keys and you walk away. And then you go home and you wait for a mileage penalty and wear and tear charges, etc. That is just one of the options, and although that may happen, that is rare. There are three other options that we typically recommend here at Walsh Honda. And those options are what I want to discuss with you first. If you understand these three options, although you do have four options, but these three options are the best options for you when you consider leasing a vehicle with American Honda, that's when you can truly take advantage of the benefits of leasing. The most commonly used advantage that we see at the very end of a lease, keep in mind, it does not have to be at the full term of the lease. So for example, if you've done a 3-year lease, it can be done at about 2 to 2.5 years also. You can actually trade the vehicle. Now the benefit with this is, let's say you've gone over on your mileage. Let's say you've gone over 5, 10, 15,000 miles over what was allowed on the lease. You're exempt from mileage penalties, and a lot of people don't know that with leasing. The way that works is you have a guaranteed payoff called the residual value at the end of that lease. So let's say you come in 3 years later, you've made all your payments, and now you have to decide what you want to do with the vehicle. So we take that residual value, that's your payoff, set by American Honda based on wholesale numbers, what that vehicle is currently doing at auctions. Keep in mind, wholesale, that's a low number. You could not replace the vehicle for that number 3 years down the road if you wanted to go get another one just like it. So you come in, we get the payoff for you, the residual value, and then we appraise the vehicle. Two things can happen. Most likely, you'll have a little equity in the vehicle because it was based off a low number from the very get-go. And if you have equity, you can use that towards the next vehicle or get a check back for your equity. Another option that you can also take advantage of is if you're the kind of person that, you like to drive the vehicle till the wheels fall off. That's an option to you. A lot of people don't know that with leasing, that you can buy the vehicle for that guaranteed residual value at the end of that term. The other option you can take, the third option, a lot of people don't do this, but it is an option to you. You can sell the vehicle yourself. Now, any one of those three options I just mentioned, you're exempt from mileage penalty. Keep in mind, the typical mileage penalty for American Honda lease contracts can vary from 15 to 20 cents depending on the MSRP of the vehicle when it was sold brand new. So, if you're in a situation where you're over on your miles, take one of those three options. You're exempt from mileage penalties. The only thing that matters at that point is the residual value compared to the value of the car at the time you're trading in the vehicle. The final benefit of leasing is gap insurance. Gap insurance is automatically included to all American Honda lease contracts as a benefit to you, the client. If you don't know what gap insurance is, in a nutshell, it covers the deficiency on your loan if the vehicle is ever totaled and it's a complete loss. So if you owe more than what the vehicle is worth, it covers the difference, also known as guaranteed asset protection, hence its name, gap insurance. That is at no cost to you. If you wanted to get such a coverage on the retail installment contract of a 60 to 72 month contract, it would add about $10 to $15 a month to your payments. With leasing, it's automatically included. Now you're probably wondering, why doesn't everybody lease a vehicle? It almost seems too good to be true. There is a rare circumstance where leasing is not right for you. If you're the kind of person that's driving 25 to 30,000 miles a year plus, leasing is not right for you. You need to stick with traditional retail options and pay the vehicle off as fast as possible because you're depreciating the vehicle at a rapid rate and leasing is not going to be right for you. But if you're driving 20,000 miles a year or less, leasing is absolutely right for you. And I want to lead into the next subject is the myths of leasing. Typically when we bring up leasing to a client, the only thing that holds them back are these myths that they've heard about leasing. And some of those myths came from some truth a few decades ago. But laws have changed to where leasing is now a much more ethical financing option. One of those myths that we typically hear is, I don't want to rent a car. I have nothing to show for after 2 or 3 years that I pay on this vehicle. That is absolutely incorrect. The way leasing works, when we had mentioned that from the very beginning of this video, is you pay on this vehicle for 2, 3, 4 years. At the very end of that term, you have paid it down, typically somewhere between to about 50 to 60% of its initial new vehicle price. You paid it down. You paid it down to a point where you may have equity now. Another thing that I hear typically is, I want to drive my vehicle until the wheels fall off. You can keep the vehicle at the very end of the lease, if you choose. But the benefit here is, with a traditional retail option, you're taking on an obligation. 60 months, 72 months, sometimes longer. With leasing, it's an obligation with 4 options. So at the end of 2 to 3 years, what if you don't like the vehicle? What if your lifestyle changes and you want to try a minivan or a sports car or something completely different? You have that option and you can plan it out from day one because you know the payoff the day you got into it. The final myth that typically comes up is cost of leasing, as far as cost of ownership on the vehicle, in that period of time is higher. That is absolutely incorrect also. It is no different. The only thing that's changing is the method of payment for this vehicle. The method of ownership, how you take care of the vehicle, what happens if you get in a fender bender, anything like that, it is all the same. It is completely in your hands. Obviously, if you do get in a fender bender, get it fixed right. It's your car. You want it looking good. If an oil change light comes on, get the oil changes taken care of. By the way, with Walsh Honda, those oil changes are taken care of for the entire period of this lease. And if you decide to keep it at the very end and drive it till the wheels fall off, those lifetime oil changes stay with you. It does not change. But the big thing that we typically hear is, insurance costs more when I lease a vehicle. I've heard that from so-and-so. That can be true if you have the bare minimum coverages in the state of Georgia. So if you have one of those discount insurance companies, and there's nothing wrong with them, but if you have just a bare minimum to be considered full coverage, then yes, your insurance will go up because they require higher coverages. But with most insurance companies, for example, State Farm, Georgia Farm Bureau, and many other premium insurance companies, the big name companies, they will typically recommend to you the correct coverages, and if you went with that, you already have enough coverages, so the method of payment won't change your insurance amounts. These are all myths that typically come up because people have fear, and the purpose of this video is to get rid of some of those fears and address them. If you understand leasing in a complete package of what your options are from the very beginning, and not worry about it later when you get to the lease end, then leasing can be right for you. And after 14 years here at this dealership, I have seen 3 to 4 cycles of leasing customers coming back, and it's the same thing over and over again. Those skeptic customers that we talked into, just trying out leasing one time, are now 100% sold on the idea of leasing, and in fact, they don't want to try anything different. It's a great way for the dealership to get repeat business. It is a great way for the customer to get, in some cases, more car for less money, or the same car for less money, and for the bank involved, they make a little finance charges over the 2 or 3 years. But the key for us is that in that 2 to 3 years, we keep in touch with you. So what happens typically at the end of a lease is, in about the last 6 months, you'll start getting offers from us and American Honda to possibly either come in and change over to keeping that vehicle or upgrading to a new vehicle. And because you're in the Honda family with the Honda leasing programs, they make it so hard for you to say no. They will waive final payments, they will give you additional incentives, and that makes you unique to Honda. You are a loyal customer and they want to keep you with us. I want to thank you for your time. And again, this was just a summary video. If you have any further questions about leasing and how it's right for you, please ask your leasing or sales consultant for more information and they'd be more than happy to help you. Otherwise, welcome to the Walsh family and see you soon.